Right now I'd like to take one of these ProFeeders apart and show you some of the cool things about it. All you need is a Phillips screwdriver. By the way, you may get a little dirty. I actually got a little dirt on my shirt. That's okay, it means you're busy and you're doing a good job. Okay, let's take this apart. There's actually a little Phillips head screw. Just undo that. This head is actually, not the head, I'm sorry, the top is actually held on with this screw, and it actually has an O-ring that fits over our injector head. I don't know if you can get a close-up of that. We have a little black O-ring inside here. This gives you a good seal so the fertilizer won't be dripping all over the place, and then you'll have a very lush valve box, which we don't want. Before you work on this unit here, what you need to do is turn off your water at your backflow device. I also like to make sure a valve is open in front or in back of the ProFeeder. That will relieve some of the water pressure. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to press down on these guts in the center with my thumb, and at the same time remove this little snap ring. It'll actually go away from the side of it to pull that out. If you put some type of a screwdriver and you start prying and nothing's moving, that little rectangle is going to break. We don't want that. So make sure that you've relieved the pressure, and I'm going to show you how that's done. You're going to press down. As you can see, we make these snap rings very tight. It's all about making sure we get to the best specs we can. All right, now as you can see, you pull this snap ring out. Again, all I used is my Phillips screwdriver. All right, once you get to this point, I like to take my screwdriver and just pry up on those guts. They pull right out. Okay? Another thing inside the guts, inside the ProFeeder body, is a large O-ring. I'm going to put that tool down. This large O-ring here is going to give you the seal so that your water pressure does not come up through the guts and, of course, fill up your valve box. So make sure that this stays clean. This is the guts here. As the water comes in, it's going to spin this little paddle wheel. As that paddle wheel spins 750 revolutions, you're going to get approximately 1 milliliter of fertilizer. Now, you're going to hear a series of clicks inside the unit itself. Those clicks are going to come from the paddle wheel doing one full cycle of 750 revolutions. Inside here, if you can get a close-up, we have, as you can see, a little blue nozzle. The flow nozzle actually inserts into the inlet side, like so. You can actually see the very tip of it inside the ProFeeder. That will actually take the flow and direct it right to that paddle wheel. Now, as this paddle wheel is spinning, let me give you some secrets. I'm going to sit down first. The secrets to these paddle wheels is you're going to hear a series of clicks. Those clicks need to be at least every 7 seconds or more apart. Let's say it's every 10 seconds, great. Every 20 seconds, great. Every 30 seconds, great. However, if you drop below 7 seconds, this little paddle wheel cannot spin that fast and continue to cool itself. And it might launch into orbit, so we don't want that to happen. So make sure that if it's clicking too fast, then we have bigger flow nozzles or smaller flow nozzles depending. So if it's clicking too fast, you need to go with the next size bigger flow nozzle. If it's not clicking enough, let's say it's clicking every 40 seconds, you need to put in a smaller flow nozzle to increase that. Always do these figures with the largest gallon per minute zone in your yard. That's the only one you need to test it with. That pretty much sets it for the whole yard. If you have the blue nozzle installed and the click rate is less than every 7 seconds, go ahead, remove the ProFeeder, take the blue nozzle out, and you can run it without one. Now there is a downside to that, and that is you're not going to be able to get the amount of fertilizer that you may need. When that is out, you're only getting about 30 parts per million of your fertilizer. On our different flow nozzles, they have different ratings. I have two right here. I have a blue and a red. The blue one is going to give you about 85 to 90 parts per million. The red is roughly going to give you 180 to 190 parts per million. We have a white nozzle. This white nozzle is dedicated basically for bypasses, and we'll talk about that a little later. And then we have a yellow nozzle that's designed for very low drip systems with very small yards. The yellow nozzle it's going to run anywhere from 200 to 900 parts per million. It's actually spring actuated. Again, on a drip system only is where this one is needed. It's a very small orifice, so as the water goes through there, when you tame it down to a 30 psi drip system, with the spring actuation, it's really going to hold back that water and shoot that water into this paddle wheel to really get it to go at a very low volume of water. Real quick, I'd like to talk about assembly. I'd like to show you a few tips that I've learned over the past few years I've been dealing with these. First thing that's going to go in place is the O-ring. There's a little ledge on the inside of the ProFeeder that this is going to sit on. Now, if you have water that's still in here, or maybe still coming out, you can do one of two things. You can either get some type of a siphoning device, pull the water out. I prefer to slosh it out with my hand real quick, place my O-ring in place, press it in place with your finger like so. It'll go right on the ledge, can't really go anywhere else. Now, inside our ProFeeder we have a rib. The rib is designed to hold the guts in place. There's a little, do you see that little notch here? That notch is kind of nice because all you have to do is set the guts in, spin them until they actually start to go down, and now they're in place. Press that down. Last thing you need is the snap ring. Now, on the snap ring, before I put this in, let me show you real quick. These snap rings are pretty tough. I actually like to take mine and just bend that out a little bit. Okay, they can handle that by doing that. Go ahead and put that back in place. There's a little groove inside there that's going to fit inside. Now, I like to take my fingers and make sure that that is all the way in place. Press along there. You can tell when that's out when you look at it really closely. Always make sure that the little square piece that is used to help get the snap ring apart is in the up position. If you put it back upside down, you'll have a few problems later on, and we don't want that. So just make sure that that's always in the up position. Now here's another little secret. We have here a brown post that's on top of the guts. It's in a D-shaped. My cap have a little keyway that's in a D shape. I always like to leave my cap in the on position whenever I work on my ProFeeder. By doing that, now when I put my cap on, it's going to go right over that D-ring and it's going to match. Last thing I do is I take my Phillips head screw, tighten that, but you don't need to over tighten it. A couple of my buddies call it oil filled tight. You don't need it that tight. So just screw it down to where it's firm and that's it. Once you get to that point, you're done. Turn on your water and check and make sure that it's not leaking. One more reminder that I'd like to give you is on our gallon jugs of fertilizer and pest control. When you hook these up to the ProFeeder themselves, you take the hose that comes with the kit. You apply the end without the elbow to the little hose bib on top of the sight glass. There's actually a little black keeper that you can put in place. Next, you're going to take the gallon jug of fertilizer, and then you're going to open the cap. Now the nice thing about our jugs of fertilizer is we have a little straw that goes all the way to the bottom of the jug. This is to allow the product, of course, to come out of the bottom so that we'll actually take all the product out. Well, there's probably about this much left in the bottom. Do not whatsoever puncture a hole in here as a vent. It does not need it. This is a sealed system. So you take your little elbow, put that in the top like so. There's two different ways to fill this. The first way is to hold the jug like I call this the homeowner way. Lift up the jug of fertilizer, press on the red air relief, tilt the jug of fertilizer like so, and watch as the fertilizer comes down and fills up the sight glass. We like to fill it about 3/4 of the way full. Now if you're a manly man, the contractor way to do it is to grab the jug of fertilizer like this and do the red air relief. But this is clear full, so I'm not going to do that for you today. When that is at 3/4 of the way full, go ahead and press or set the jug inside the valve box with the SLS. Walk away and know that good things are going to happen.